The two sessions of China is just about halfway done, but delegates have already covered a lot of ground. Many important topics have been discussed that includes many of China's priorities: the economy, the fight against corruption, and the fight against pollution. Our current affairs commentator Einar Tangen is in Beijing now and joins us there. Einar, I want to begin by asking you about the constitutional amendment. If you read the Western press, they almost focus exclusively on one thing, that is the lifting of the presidential and vice presidential term limits. We'll discuss that too, of course, but the amendment of the Chinese constitution yesterday is much more than that, right?
Well, absolutely. I mean, China is at an inflection point, much like the transition between Mao and Deng. Deng felt very strongly that he needed to take a very firm lead and move the country in a new direction, and I think Xi feels the same way. What you have here is less about the person, although that's what people are talking about, and more about the policies. You'll note that almost everything that Sean talked about were societal concerns: poverty, pollution, education. All of these areas are areas where China has had very rapid economic development, but it's now time to catch up. You know, China had the first decrease in its Gini index last year. That's the difference between the poor and the rich. And this is a very, very positive sign for China as it moves forward, this idea of moving it together. Now, one of the issues about it is that, Xi faced this very difficult situation where if he had not sent a very strong signal that these policies were going to remain in effect, you could, in essence, have kind of a lame duck session as he gets towards the end of his second term, where people are less concerned with the work in front of them and perhaps more concerned with who would be coming in next. This really sends a very, very strong message that it's going to be the policies going forward, whether it's outside Belt and Road or inside societal concerns.
Well, right, Einar, we know that President Xi's key foreign policy doctrine that is called to build a common community for mankind is also written into China's constitution. How do you read into that?
Well, right now you have a very, very sharp difference between what is being peddled in the United States, which is about protectionism. We can already see that in action as Donald Trump starts throwing tariffs here and there and threatening more. And they're retreating. They're saying that, no, we do not want a common world. We want a world where it's a big person, the United States, negotiating with smaller entities around it. Xi has said that he's pretty, with the Paris Climate Accord, with all of the things that they're doing, he wants a common world where the issues of pollution, climate change, all of these things have to be worked on together, and that hopefully it will be a win-win situation instead of this kind of idea of a zero sum, which is being pushed in the West.
Well, another thing that the Western press did not really focus on is one thing that is also written into the Constitution that is called ecological civilization, 生态文明. That is really a political jargon in China for the fight against pollution. What do you think of the significance of that piece of legislation?
Well, as I said, I mean, you're talking about societal concerns. In the U.S., you have Donald Trump denying that climate change or that ecology even matters. He's rolling back everything in his different departments that has anything to do with it. He's actually outlawed anyone from saying climate change who is part of the administration. The other side of it is China, which is embracing it and saying that it needs to provide positive leadership. It's actually ahead of its goals. This is very important to the Chinese people. I mean, where you live, the air you breathe, everything about, from jobs, from all your internal security, these things have to be taken care of. If a government fails to provide safety, and that, I mean just physical safety and also environmental, it has failed its basic duty. And the question is, I think in a lot of the Western countries, they're wondering whether or not their governments are actually delivering. So this is a very sharp contrast once again.